Well, that's an almighty scare for Australia. In the end, they get the job done, but not in the manner that they would have hoped for. They now leave just one possibility for them to get through to the semi-finals. They need Sri Lanka to beat England. They nearly went down to Afghanistan themselves, in which case nothing that happens tomorrow would have mattered. Rashid Khan giving them a serious scare, 48 not out of 23, and at a ground that he fancies bowling, batting, plays a lot of Big Bash League cricket. In the end, he falls one hit away from giving his side what would have been a historic win. Australia finish with 7 points. It may not be enough. We might well have seen the last of the defending champions, the host nation, in this tournament. But we shall confirm that tomorrow when England play Sri Lanka at Sydney. This is Maruti Suzuki presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Timeout. We look back on that game with Robin Uthappa and Tom Moody. I wonder what the feelings would be or the emotions would be for an Australian fan right now. Yes, they won the game. That was far from what they wanted on the day, Tom.
I think the fan will be, I suppose, disappointed the way that Australia played. They, like the team, would have liked to have won with a lot more convincing sort of manner. But it just, I think you could see the body language of the players, the Australian players. They knew that it was a pretty ordinary, sloppy performance from them. Not taking anything away from Afghanistan. We all know they're a threat and they're a dangerous team. But I think that performance really is a good reflection of Australia's campaign to that point. Yeah. It just hasn't really run smoothly. It's been, some departments going okay, other departments not working at all. So it's not a team that looks like they deserve to be in the top four, but Sri Lanka might have different ideas tomorrow.
All right. I mean, it's fair to say, if you would have expected Australia to really be up for this, they could have gone for the kill, but we didn't see that Australia.
It's been pretty scratchy, hasn't it? I just think this Australian team, or ever since, God bless you, ever since Justin Langer's exit, it's hasn't been smooth sailing. I might be saying something controversial.
Wow, you're throwing open a very interesting chat.
Yeah, so I just feel like all's not well, and even within the team, it doesn't seem like that oomph that we generally see Australia with have really come out there and played. I tagged them as favourites before this World Cup, but I had very little information about what's going on, and I think just the health of the team isn't at its best at this point.
Would you care to?
Yeah, look, I think. To be honest with you, I think it all started. Today all started with the selection or the non-selection of Mitchell Starc. You've got one of your big guns, and you're putting him on the sideline against a side that we all think, and when only three of us have got an opinion, and there's a million other people out there with opinions, but we all felt very unusual that you've got your spearhead like that not playing against a team like Afghanistan. If it was a team that that is comfortable against genuine pace, maybe a different story if you're concerned about his form and what's happening, when he's taking the new ball. But you're talking about a team that is not historically comfortable against genuine pace, and you take your fastest bowler out of the equation. To me, that doesn't sort of stack up.
I mean, I can't think of any opposition.
For me, it's not only just that. I can't think of any opposition that you wouldn't want to pick a fit.
Yeah, I mean, if this was England or this was India or South Africa, there's no reason that tells you, let's not play Starc.
Especially when you're contending for a qualification spot. It doesn't make sense whatsoever.
I mean, there was a little collapse triggered, right, in the middle where there were 3 down, suddenly there were 6 down. You have a Mitchell Starc who could probably go 7, 8, 9, 10, and you could still win it by 50.
Bang, bang,
Tom?
bang. Yeah.
Raunak, he's such a dangerous bowler. He can pick up wickets like when you least expect it. You never, the batsmen are always under the pump when he's bowling.
Particularly, that over where Zampa did what Zampa does, flies under the radar, just picks off 2 or 3 wickets, does a brilliant job. You then bring Starc on the back of that. He could then pick up 2 and an over. Suddenly it's game over with 40 in the bank, which is what they're trying to achieve.
And whatever little we saw of him on television, it didn't look like a happy man. Not me.
A lot of people not happy today with the non-selection of Mitch Starc. And funny enough, he had one of his better games against Ireland. It's exactly this what he did. Picked up a couple of wickets quickly. Just even then, Australia ran it close, but we didn't see a Starc that's cold or carrying a niggle or any of that. It's It's going to be something that will be discussed for a lot of time.
I think
you
a lot
think
will
in
be
Australian
revealed
cricket.
after like in the following days as well. I think a lot might just come out. We might get some clarity as to what actually is going on. It's just been so up and down with Australia over the last couple of years.
I wonder how much was riding on this World Cup, if at all. We could probably save this discussion for tomorrow, but let's assume, Tom, that this is the end for Australia and their campaign. Often many decisions are taken after World Cups. Teams look to regroup, build differently. This is a new setup, new coaching staff. Obviously, there was a lot of talk about Aaron Finch, but I wonder how much is riding on this World Cup and what this performance might lead to.
I think a lot was riding on the World Cup. You know, this is a home World Cup. It's a World Cup you want to win, regardless of the fact that you've got one in the bag, you know, a year ago in the UAE. These are unique moments. You know, World Cups don't come along that often. They come along a little bit more often than they have done historically, because we have now 2 World Cups.
More often in our part of the world.
Yeah, with 50 over and 20 over cricket now. But I think it means a significant amount. And it also means a lot because I think there's a number of players in that Australian team may not even be around for the next World Cup, which is in 2 years' time. So a lot of them are playing for the fact that this is their last chance to lift that trophy and go back to back. You know, no one's ever done it.
Yeah.
You know, there's so much for them to hold on to. You know, the idea of this is a good idea for us to commit.
Sure. You played in that era where Australia, you know, they used to
like
create
even now,
records,
for me,
right?
in any World Cup, you know that Australia is going to step up their game and how, right? And it's what we all anticipated. At least I did when I put them in my top 4. I thought they'd step up, and because in the last World Cup, no one really gave them a chance. When they stepped out, stepped up in how in the previous World Cup, and they really came to the fore in the last World Cup, and then you expected them to do the same thing.
It actually reminds me of a World Cup campaign I was involved in 1992. You probably weren't born.
I was.
Okay, maybe 1 or 2. But in 1992, again, a home World Cup, and we had a terrible World Cup campaign. It's the World Cup that Pakistan famously won. The great Imran Khan led, you know, that team. Wasim Akram spell in the final against England, but we were a shambles in our own backyard. We were a shambles. We didn't know what our right combination was. We just didn't have any rhythm to our game. You know, there was no infighting amongst the team, but we were just sort of lost souls, just meandering through this sort of campaign, sort of hoping to play finals without any set plan or direction.
Yeah, and what's I think would be that would be really upsetting for the Australian fans would be that they have all the ingredients in that side to win a World Cup at home. Yeah. With
you cut to 2015. They were the best team of the tournament, quite comfortably. Very few. New Zealand beat them one game in Auckland, but otherwise no one came close. So it's amazing that same set of players, similar set of players.
Yeah, it's the first time I've seen an Australian team that from the outside looks disjointed. You know what I mean?
We will have this conversation more in detail. This is all, you might read that ticker down if you've not watched the game and think Australia beat Afghanistan by 4 runs, but this almost feels like a defeat for Australia, not making the semi-finals, not being able to have that killer instinct against Ireland first, against Afghanistan today, leaving far too much in the hands of the others. I wonder if we could turn it around a little bit, right? Let's just try and put both sides through, and whether we could say, if they would have won the game against England, had there not been a washout, this team would have gone through. So is it really as bad as we're making it sound?
Everyone's in the same boat. Every team in this World Cup has been affected with washouts, you know, unfortunates. If you look at England, you know, they could argue that against Ireland, well, we would have caught that game up and we would have won it, you know, we'll never know. Yes. But everyone's got a story. At the end of the day, you can only control your own story. And Australia's story, unfortunately, hasn't finished the way they would have liked.
Would you also sense that something about the way they went down against New Zealand put the team in a bit of a shock? I don't know if I could say that fairly. Just they were expected to win that game. New Zealand had never beaten them in Australia before. And somewhere it just created these feelings of uncertainty in what would have otherwise been a confident side.
Yeah, I think perhaps in the long run this might be a great thing for Australian cricket. That definitely I think would have probably brought up, because they hadn't lost to New Zealand in I don't know how many years in Australia. So that loss would have probably brought up a lot of the simmering issues that have already been there. and this campaign would probably bring up a lot more things within that group. That's probably causing, because it's the same outfit that won last year, essentially the same outfit. So I think in the long run this will be a great thing for them, because if they can iron out all of those things, I think we know for a fact around the world there's no other team as dangerous as Australia in a World Cup.
Tom?
The other thing we've got to remember is leading into this World Cup, Australia's form in T20 cricket was really poor. And there was a lot of question marks over a number of different players within the team, and whether the combination was right and who should be doing what and how. So it's not like they walked into this World Cup watertight, knowing exactly what their playing 11 is, knowing exactly who's in form, and more often than not, the sides that you're referring to, Australian teams would walk into a World Cup with everyone in tip-top form, everyone fit and firing. This team had question marks, and it was nearly like, oh, it'll be okay on the day. We've lost against England in these games leading into this, and we were poor against New Zealand with, some other white ball cricket that we played, but, look, on the day we'll be okay. It doesn't work like that.
Okay. Well, there you have it. Australia will finish on 7 points. We'll just throw up that points table to look at what that final net run rate looks like. So it's pretty simple now. England already have the significantly higher net run rate. If Sri Lanka beat England tomorrow, Australia, as it turns out, by the virtue of that rained out game and that 1 point, would pip Sri Lanka and get to 7 and stay at 7. And if England win tomorrow, they go through. Simple as that. New Zealand should occupy that top spot, and that's what we look forward to in Sydney tomorrow. Or could we possibly look forward to some rain, perhaps, Tom Moody?
I just gave you that signal just to remind you that I'm not saying there's going to be rain, but we've seen a huge amount of rain in Melbourne and Sydney, and let's hope that's not what determines the outcome.
The rain is reserved for the South Africa game on Sunday. it's not tomorrow.
As long as they're not chasing 27 off one ball.
South Africa against the Netherlands. That's the game. South Africa,
22,
Netherlands.
22, is it?
I would not say it. I don't want to jinx it. I'm a big fan of the South African side, and we want Faf du Plessis back for the semi-finals. So let's not hope for that. Right. Before we wrap things up, let's spend some time on Afghanistan. They've come within one shot away from beating Australia in Australia. They had never played a T20I in Australia coming into this World Cup. They got quite the unkind welcome, getting an England fixture at Perth, and now they sign off and bow out. I'm guessing, Tom, with still enough grace, enough good moments. They had a washed out game against Ireland themselves. The ball has dropped for Australia, but as far as Afghanistan goes, it's a bright future, I'm guessing.
Yeah, look, again, they're a very likeable team, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're likeable people, likeable nation. And it's great to see them do well. It nearly felt like today's match in Adelaide was a home game for them, because Rashid Khan is a favoured son, favourite son in South Australia. He's played for the Strikers, Adelaide Strikers now for 6 seasons, and they love him to bits. So wherever he goes, whether it's in a cricket ground in Adelaide or in the streets of Adelaide, he's recognised, he's loved and appreciated, and you could sort of sense that whenever he came on to bowl or whenever he picked the ball up in the field, and for him to finish off the way he finished off was nearly like a sign-off of thank you to the crowd.
In fact, if I remember, Rashid Khan, the batter, was first discovered playing for the Strikers. He wasn't getting as much batting for Afghanistan or in his IPL team.
That's right.
So this is where, like Virat Kohli, Rashid Khan also likes the Adelaide Oval.
Loves the Adelaide Oval. He certainly does. And he just came out there and all guns blazing. But the rest of the Afghanistan side, same story here. They get off to good starts. They don't capitalize on it, and I think it's an issue that they should be addressing and addressing soon enough, because the likes of Gurbaz and like Naib and Zadran as well. Starts and not carrying on with that. That's what's bitten them in this World Cup, at least, for sure.
Batting just still seems to be the gulf between the teams. The bowling's coming good. Even the Dutch have this dangerous bowling on their day, Tom. But batting, I wonder how you sort of bring that batting to the next level for these teams.
Yeah, it's a good question. It's the way you do it is by playing more and more cricket and just understanding batsmanship. That's an important part of batting, whatever format, is understanding batsmanship and what's required in that moment. It's not about what I think I should be doing the next ball. It's a case of what is the game, how is the pitch playing, who's bowling, how do I go about navigating these next 6 balls, how am I going to get our team into a better position in the next over, 2 overs, 5 overs, whatever it might be. And that takes experience, and that also takes, you know, good healthy conversations in dressing rooms and around breakfast tables and things like that, just about learning about the game.
Yep. All right, let's hope for Afghanistan cricket to go upward from here. But in what's a curious World Cup, a good World Cup, everyone's picked up points somewhere. Afghanistan have picked up points as a result of 2 washouts. You've got to feel for them. They did not get 2 games on the trot after losing to England. There's a washout against New Zealand, then a washout against Ireland. They would have fancied Ireland, team they play often, so that could have been a proper 4-pointer. But as it turns out, they finish on 2. Ireland have bowed out today after losing to New Zealand on 3. Ken Williamson's side is sitting pretty at the top of that table. And as it turns out, England v Sri Lanka, it's all to play for in Sydney tomorrow. I wonder if this has just deflated Sri Lanka a little. They could have thought they might have a chance if they win to get through to the semis. That's not going to happen now. But there is still a fate to be determined for Australia and England. Big thank you to Robin Uthappa as well as Tom Moody. We're back tomorrow for England v Sri Lanka. So we'll put a few nails in the coffin there tomorrow as well for whichever teams go out. And whoever's got Mitchell Stark's number. Did he play with you in RCB? Or you at KKR by then?
I was at KKR by
right. Do you have Mitchell Stark's number?
I might have.
All right. I don't have Mitchell Stark's number. But whoever's got it, start tweeting to him. Ask him what the hell is going on. Because we did miss that. We did not see that coming. Right. That's pretty much it. Now don't miss the Cricinfoverse with Grand Vitara. Just head over to ESPN Cricinfo's homepage on the tab. It's the coolest destination that you can get for a new experience if you're a cricket fan. Build your own avatar, interact with other cricket fans, get a virtual tour of the Cricinfo studios, and get a sneak peek at the advanced Grand Vitara from Maruti Suzuki. So the Cricinfoverse tab is waiting for you on the ESPN Cricinfo homepage. Join us tomorrow, just the one game. 1:30 is the game time, so 1 p.m. is when we will be here for pre-match analysis. So look forward to your company then on Maruti Suzuki Presents ESPN Cricinfo T20 Timer.